It really is the end of the Arizona era, and I'm so grateful for this time in my life. I'm so grateful that I heard that voice. It was a very loud, strong pull and voice inside of my head 6 years ago, and then I followed that nudge because my life looks completely different. And the things that I've done here, I would have never guessed or imagined that I would have done here. And I think that's the beauty of following your internal guidance and following your intuition, like I talk about almost every episode, is it leads you into the unknown sometimes. And the mind gets so scared of the unknown. It's so just freaked out by not knowing what's going to happen. But there's so much beauty and fun and surprise and curiosity and just deliciousness in the unknown. Welcome to Alignment Adventures. This is a podcast where we explore what it means to live a fulfilling, aligning, and present life. I'm your host, Lindsay Tanner, and I am so grateful that you are here. Hello, my loves, and welcome back to another episode of Alignment Adventures. I'm so grateful and so excited that you are here with me today. I have a really special commemorative episode planned where I just want to share with you some lessons and things that I have learned in these past 6 years that I've spent in Arizona. So as you guys know, or if you don't know, go back to episode 129 where I talk about our major life update, major life changes and plans. But we are leaving Phoenix after 6 years of living here. And I've just felt so sentimental about it because this has been obviously one of the biggest catalysts for change in my life. I've completely changed as a person on the outside and the inside since I first got here back in July of 2017. I do want to say too that this episode is meant to complement a video I uploaded to my YouTube channel explaining how I got to Arizona, that whole process, how that even came to be, and then the sequence of events and how things flowed into our next major change. And I really talk about how to deal with scary things and major life changes, and I even have some fun videos and pictures inserted, just kind of telling you the story of how I got to Arizona and why we are leaving. So if you're interested, go check out the YouTube channel. That's also where I'm going to be sharing all of our adventures on there. So lots of exciting things coming up. Honestly, sharing this has just been really cathartic for me and very full circle for me. And it's just been really fun to kind of commemorate and celebrate this. I keep calling it a book in the library of Lindsay's life. Arizona is a complete book. Maybe there will be more books in Arizona, or maybe short stories, or even just chapters in Arizona. But it really is the end of the Arizona era. And I'm so grateful for this time in my life. I'm so grateful that I heard that voice. It was a very loud, strong pull and voice inside of my head 6 years ago. And then I followed that nudge because my life looks completely different. And the things that I've done here, I would have never guessed or imagined that I would have done here. And I think that's the beauty of following your internal guidance and following your intuition, like I talk about almost every episode, is it leads you into the unknown sometimes. And the mind gets so scared of the unknown. It's so just freaked out by not knowing what's going to happen. But there's so much beauty and fun and surprise and curiosity and just deliciousness in the unknown. So like I said, pretty much everything in my life has changed in these past 6 years, from my career to my relationship. Obviously, the relationship didn't change. I'm still with Steven, but we got married, so that became more next level, more permanent, obviously. My identity has changed a lot. Really just how I think about my identity in general has changed. But also I've become a mother. I had my son almost a year ago. And also probably one of the most major shifts is just my awareness and my spiritual growth in the evolution of my consciousness. The way I see reality now, and I see life, and I see why we're here is completely different from when I first arrived in Arizona. It's just expanded so much, and I'm so grateful for that journey, for that evolution. And that's a major reason why I started this podcast, was I was having all these realizations and all these things that I wanted to share. And I'm very grateful that I had this platform and this space to share all of my ideas, all of my downloads, all of my aha moments with all of you guys. I'm just so grateful that you're here. So let's go ahead and dive into these lessons. So the first thing I want to talk about is like the spiritual significance of the desert. I've really been hyper aware of this in the past few months. I think it started when someone mentioned it in an internal guidance session, which I have those on the podcast if you want to go back and listen. I think they're in the 100 teens area, if I had to guess, like 113 or something. But one of my internal guidance session guests mentioned how the desert has served its purpose. And that was like my first aha moment. And I really do feel like if you've been here before, maybe you have had similar feelings. Like there's just a specific energy to the desert, especially this area. And I do think it's connected to how close we are to Sedona, but even just beyond that. So I had to do a little bit of research, and I was just curious to see what the spiritual significance of the desert is. Well, as you guys may or may not know, if you're more into this, if you're more well-versed on this, you might be like, duh, but Lindsay is very intrigued by religion. I'm intrigued and curious and also wary of religion. I have a very complex relationship with religion, but a lot of major religions mention the desert. That's because a lot of major religions came out of the desert, right? In the Middle East. I find that so interesting. But here's a quote I have from wanderlust.com, so I will link it if you guys are curious. So it says, in the Judeo-Christian tradition, some theologians assert that the 40 days and nights spent crossing the desert was to signify the harsh conditions punctuated by the life-giving oasis that would lead the Jewish people to their true land and to their true relationship with God and understanding of themselves. I find that to be very interesting because I agree that something about the desert really prompts you to evaluate that relationship with yourself. It really prompts you to go within. And something about the harsh conditions here, like the heat and just the way the land is, like it truly is harsh conditions. And even how there's like this time of year in the desert, there's still growth. There's still beautiful flowers on the cacti, which I'm just so obsessed with. Really kind of mirrors us facing harsh conditions in our life, like our fears and our limiting beliefs and things that are holding us back, and releasing those so we can step into our growth. So this is kind of Lindsay's interpretation of all of this, right? Like the desert can help us just grow significantly by facing our shadows, by facing the things that are holding us back, and growing through facing our fears. And that is totally what I feel like I've done here. I've done a lot of scary things here, including actually moving here. And I've grown so much from that. And I just, whether you live in the desert or not, I think we can harness that energy. There's so much growth in the things that scare us. And I'm not saying you have to be like scared all the time or that you have to do hard things all the time, but just be curious and explore and just see what's on the other side of those things that you're so scared of. It's very, very powerful. Another huge thing that has come from me moving to Arizona and really prompted this journey that I've been on is it's just given me space. I always think of that Dixie Chicks song, which I think they're just called the Chicks now. That song, Wide Open Spaces. When I had heard that song after I'd been in Arizona, I was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly how I feel. Like I just need space. I need wide open space, which obviously there's a ton of wide open space in the desert. But also I needed like physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional space from the people I was closest to. And not to say that like I needed time away from them, but I needed the space to get clear on what was true for me. I think when you're too close to certain people around you, Like, they can have a huge influence on your life, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it just can cloud your perspective. And sometimes you just need space to explore what is true for you. Explore your truth. And I had grown up in the same town that I had lived in since I was born. Like, we had lived in Oklahoma for a few years. So I guess I left for a little bit. But then we came back, and I had pretty much grown up in the same area my whole life. And I just needed that space to like dive into and explore what was true for me. And that has prompted so many of the realizations that I share with you guys on the podcast since episode 1. So I'm just so grateful for that. And even if you're in a spot where you feel like you cannot physically give space, like energetically give yourself space. Like, you don't have to take on all the things that are going on around you. I feel like that can be hard in families and friend groups and, you know, people that you're close with. You want to be there for them. You want to love them, all the things, right? But you can also give yourself energetic space. Give yourself energetic space to just explore what is true for you, to explore your truth, to explore your connection with your internal guidance. I think a lot of times too, we just have so much noise from externals, people that mean so well for us and love us so much, but there's so much noise sometimes you just cannot seem to find that connection within yourself. So give yourself energetic space if you need to. I think that is one of the best gifts we can give ourselves: time and space. Now, of course, another huge lesson that I've learned here, and it started before I even got here, that's the reason why I am here, is following my intuition, aka my internal guidance. You guys know I use those terms interchangeably, but that was one of the biggest nudges I have gotten from my intuition, was to move here. And obviously I'd felt that before in my life. Like, I'd lived 25 years. How old was I? I guess I was 26 at the time. I lived 26 years up until that point. Obviously, I had felt nudges from my intuition. But from my memory, this is one of the biggest ones I have felt that I can remember and recall and still feel viscerally. And it was such a roller coaster of emotions. Again, go check out that YouTube video. I really take you through like the process of how I decided to move here and how that even came to be. But it was such an emotional roller coaster. Like, I had this deep, deep knowing, but it was also terrifying. I was so scared. So many stories came up. And my mind was like, really? You're going to leave this safe, comfortable spot that you've been in your whole life into the unknown? Who knows what's going to happen? And I remember I kept telling myself, you know, you can always come back. You can always come back, but you have to try. And that's how I feel now with our RV adventures. Like, we can always stop RVing, right? But we have to try it. We have to at least try it. And I'm so glad I did, because I've been here for the last 6 years, and so many beautiful things have happened in those 6 years. My soul knew on a deep, deep level that I wanted more, that I wanted this experience, that there was growth to be had out here in the desert. Now, the next thing that I've learned, and that I continue to embody as much as I can, is to follow what feels fun, scary, and exciting. I think I mentioned that from one of the very first episodes, but use that as like your North Star. Like, what feels fun, exciting, and scary. Keep following those things while also being present, which can be tricky sometimes. And that's going to lead you to growth and expansion in just like your soul's path. Karen Hager talked about this. You cannot miss your soul's path. There are many windy ways to get there. But one way that I found that really serves me is to follow what feels fun, scary, and exciting. Now, I'm just going through my bullet point list here, so things are going to go from like super deep to not super deep. Well, I guess this one is kind of super deep. But my next point is that your friends can be your family. So as you know, none of my family lives out here, and we've kind of had to make our own quote unquote family. And the friends that we have made here really have become our family. We've celebrated baby showers here, and weddings, and bachelorette parties, and birthdays, and holidays, and all the things. And it's really synchronistic how I met some of my friends out here. I don't know if I've ever told this story, but when I first moved out here, I knew some girls that actually lived here, and I still hang out with them as well from college. They were actually in my sorority, but I lived like on the other side of town, so I was kind of farther away from them, so I didn't get to see them all the time because I was living really close to the school that I worked at the time. So I obviously was wanting to make friends, and I even considered like joining, I think it was called like Bumble for Friends, which is like a dating app for friends. I don't know if I ever actually did, but I set the intention to. The apartment that I was living at the time had 4 gorgeous pools. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to these pools. I'm going to lay out at them all year because it is gorgeous here all year, even though the native zonies never seem to use their pool in the winter because it's too cold. And I am sad to report I've become one of those jaded zonies that just never uses the pool as much as they intended to. But my first year, I was at the pool all the time. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to meet some friends at the pool. And one day I was out there, and I think Steven had called me, and I was even talking about the Midwest. It was in winter time, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's snowing there. That sucks. Like, I'm out by the pool. It's sunny and beautiful. And this girl had sat down next to me, and when I got off the phone with Steven, she was like, oh my gosh, like, who are you talking to? Are you not from here? Like, you said it was snowing. And I told her how I was talking to my boyfriend who lived in St. Louis or is from St. Louis. Turns out she was from St. Louis. She went to the same college as Steven, and we are now still really good friends today. Kaylin, I know you might be listening. So grateful that our paths crossed. That was so synchronistic, and we just talk about that all the time, how funny that story is. But anyways, going back to my point that your friends truly can become your family, and you may feel that now, even if you don't live far away from your family, that your friends are family. And just be open to that concept and allow that to happen in your life if that feels right, allowing your friends to be your family. My next point has been crucial to our journey here and has made this experience so much richer, but that is to explore your backyard. And what I mean by that, whether you live in the Southwest or the Midwest or even a place you think that is not that exciting, go and explore the beauty around you. It is no secret that the Southwest has so many beautiful locations, like the states that we are close to, the national parks we are close to, so many gorgeous, like just natural wonders around here, and just fun cities. Like, we're really close to San Diego and Puerto Peñasco and Mexico, and we just have really taken advantage of exploring the places around us. Even one that kind of stands out that is lesser known is Bisbee, Arizona. It is such an adorably cute town. If you're ever near Tucson, it's actually super close to the Mexican border. Go see Bisbee, Arizona. It's by Tombstone, which is also like a historical place. Which, fun fact, did you know that the famous shooting in Tombstone actually took place on my birthday? Just another synchronicity I have with the desert. But no matter where you're at, I just encourage you to go explore your backyard. No matter where we end up next after our RV adventures, I know we're going to take time to explore the nature and the beauty around that place, wherever it is. And I just challenge you, even if you think you don't live in a beautiful place, I'm sure there's so many interesting places that you've never gone to just because they're so close, and you're like, well, it's right there, why would I go there? It's so easy to have that mentality. Like, I've even talked to people here that live in Arizona, and they're like, I've never been to the Grand Canyon because, you know, it's so close. I don't know, I've just never been in. And I'm like, why? Like, just go. It's so beautiful. Make it a priority. Take the time. Like, us exploring the Southwest in our quote-unquote backyard here while we've been in Phoenix has been a game changer and has been the fun and exciting thing, right? And it has led us to our next step, which is RV life. So it's just funny how that all works out. My next point is to not talk yourself out of something you want to do. Now, this goes back to a point I just made. This is a small example, or you could have a huge example. But sometimes we'll talk about going to our neighborhood pool, which is literally right next door to our house. Like, I can almost see it from the window I am looking out of right now. And sometimes we'll just talk ourselves out of it because we're like, no, it's too hot, even though the pool is perfect when it's too hot, or we just don't feel like getting our stuff together or whatever it may be. If you feel that nudge, honor it. Honor it and follow it and see what happens. Or it can be something so much bigger, like a nudge to start a project or to change jobs or to whatever it may be. You know, I've given you so many different examples throughout the years on this podcast. Don't talk yourself out of it. Don't let your mind stories win. Honor your internal guidance nudges. Honor your intuition nudges and just see where they lead you. If I didn't continue to follow the nudges that I've gotten since getting to Arizona, I would not be where I'm at right now. Who knows where I'd be and what I'd be doing. But it's just taken me on such a journey from changing careers to, starting different projects, and ultimately has led me to this point right now where I'm doing something I am obsessed with, this podcast, and I absolutely love sharing all these things with you guys. I get to talk to fascinating, beautiful souls all the time and share our conversations on here. And all of those little nudges I've had along the way have led me to this point. So just don't talk yourself out of those nudges. You're not crazy. If it doesn't make sense, you're not crazy, even though your mind wants to think you're crazy. Honor those nudges and see where they lead you. I feel like I should have organized these points better because this next one connects back to something I already said, but it says nature is the ultimate healer. There's so much beautiful nature out here, and really anywhere. You can find beauty in nature no matter where you're at. And every time we go out and we camp or just even walk in our neighborhood or even go to like the grassy part and by our pool, our common area, or go camp somewhere beautiful, I just feel so much better after slowing down and connecting with nature. Nature is always communicating with us, just like our bodies, and it's a matter of slowing down and tuning into her energy, into Mother Earth's energy. Like just go put your feet on the ground without shoes on, or go for a walk. Really, truly simple things. Nature is so healing. This next one connects too with the nature theme, but it says flow with the river. That is something that Suzanne Franzen mentioned in my episode last week, and Abraham Hicks talks about all the time. But flow with the river. Let life flow through you and go with the path of least resistance and just get out of your own way. Remember, life can be flowy and easy and enjoyable. Not to say you're not going to have like some water rapids or some dicey times, right? But just like keep flowing down the river, keep seeing what life brings you, and be open and curious. This next point is really important, and this really goes back to my first year, but that is that it's okay to feel sad and lonely. My first year here, again, was such a roller coaster. I didn't necessarily have times of regret, but I had times where I did feel really sad and lonely. And like I missed my family, and I would call them the Sunday saddies, and I would go to Target because Target is very universal wherever you go. They all kind of look the same, and it would make me feel like I was back at home. And just allowing myself to feel sad, I feel like was huge in my growth. And knowing that it was okay to feel sad, that didn't mean that I made the wrong choice. I mean, it just meant that I missed my family and my friends. And I never truly regretted my decision. I always knew deep in my core that this was what was right for me. But that doesn't mean that there weren't times that were hard or difficult, or that I missed things that were at home that were tricky for me. But then I would go outside or go on a trip or, go do something here and remember why I was here. And it is just kind of yo-yoing back and forth between those emotions. That was really my first experience, and allowing myself to feel those low vibrations and remembering that it's okay. Just because I'm feeling sad or lonely doesn't mean that I am those things. It's just weather. It's just there for a season, and it will pass. And when you allow yourself to truly feel those emotions, then they won't get stuck inside your body. So just remember, if you're ever feeling low vibe or especially sad or lonely, it's okay. Allow yourself to feel that and tune back into your truth. tune back into that peaceful, wise, loving part of you, because that part of you is never lonely. It is just sending so much love towards you. It is always, like I said, 75 degrees and sunny in your internal guidance. So just allow yourself to feel those low vibrations and tune back into your internal guidance. Now, this next one has been huge, especially I've been thinking about this the past month or so as I've been feeling just weird because, again, we're making huge life decisions and that always makes your mind go crazy. And I've been dealing with sickness, as you can hear my voice probably, which has been super annoying to my mind, but I always know that's a sign of like just to slow down or to realize something or, to realign. But this point really connects to that, and that is that the small habits lead to massive changes. So things like moving every single day, whether it's yoga or a light walk or going to the gym, starting my day with meditation, which definitely doesn't always happen now. Even though I'm done pumping, I'm still like struggling to find time in the morning because Arlo's just getting up earlier and earlier. But sometimes I will meditate at night. So slowing down and allowing myself to go within, starting my day with a podcast. Even if Arlo does get up early, we'll go for a walk before it gets too hot and I'll listen to a podcast, and that just starts my day with beautiful energy. So also like evaluate what podcasts you're listening to. Obviously right now you're hopefully getting high vibrations from this podcast, but if you're listening to other podcasts that maybe don't make you feel good, like maybe don't listen to those first thing in the morning. Can you have something that inspires you or uplifts you first thing in the morning? And then also like reading instead of scrolling as much, really limiting my time on social media. Those small habits are what has led me to some massive shifts in my life. I was just reflecting back on how many walks I've taken in our neighborhood since we've moved here. And I was like, this is where some massive shifts have happened for Lindsay, because this is where she listens to podcasts. This is where she, spends time with herself, is on these walks. And I'm just so grateful for that time, because that is really where I've been able to connect back to my truth. So if you're ever feeling stuck or unsure, go back to your small habits. Are you taking care of yourself? Are you showing self-love for yourself in the form of these small habits, like eating whole foods and moving and resting and all the things? Like, it sounds cliche, everyone says it, but go back to the small habits, because that's what's going to change your life. And that is where the magic lies, in those small moments. Now, along with that, my next point is rest is sacred. And it's funny, since we've been here, I've had multiple injuries, a lot of them dealing with my feet. Like, I've broken multiple toes or stubbed my toe or whatever it may be, even dislocated a toe. And it's always in times where I need to slow down and realize something. Or if I have a sickness, like I've been sick, I feel like since, I don't know, all of spring. I'm trying to figure out what this means. I'm trying to slow down as much as I can, but I will say it is tougher as a mom. Like, it is tougher to slow down. You have roles and obligations, but not impossible. Not impossible. I allow myself to rest when he is napping. Like right now I'm recording this podcast as he is napping, but sometimes I do just allow myself to go lay down. I don't have to be productive every single time. And you know what's interesting? The stuff always gets done. The stuff always gets done, and that's part of that 3D mentality that Suzanne was talking about last week. Again, go back and listen if you need to. But it's that idea that we have to constantly be doing and hustling, and you have to do to see the outcome, and it's doing before believing, right? Instead of embodying that energy and allowing ourselves to be water and flow through the motions of life. And we don't have to be just working ourselves to the bone all the time. Like, that is that mentality shift. And I've slowly been working away on that. But man, it is deeply ingrained in us, that hustle mentality. So just remember, rest is sacred. And if you feel the need to rest, honor that. This next one beautifully connects with that. But that is that our body is on our side and always communicating with us. I feel like I've totally reframed how I see health and fitness. Like, I used to really be a lot more regimented with my workouts and have to follow specific plans and really like beat myself up when I would eat something quote unquote unhealthy. And I have released a lot of those stories, especially since birth. I feel like that really opens up a portal of, like growing a human life and then birthing that human life and supporting that human life with your body. You really just are so in awe of what your body is doing for you. Whether you've had a baby or not, like your body is keeping you alive. It is subconsciously breathing and digesting and metabolizing for you all the time. And it truly is on your side. You are not against your body. You and your body are on the same team, and it's constantly communicating with you. And I think a lot of times when we feel disease, that's just because we're out of alignment with our body, or it's trying to tell us something in a certain way. So again, just slowing down and tuning back into the sensations you feel is such a beautiful practice. And I'm not perfect at this by any means. Like I've told you guys about that sensation I was feeling behind my belly button and my solar plexus, and I've had all this sinus stuff going on. I had COVID, I have allergies. I feel like my body's really trying to communicate with me. I think it's a combination of just like massive changes going on. And I do think too, like when you kind of step into the next iteration of yourself, a lot of times that is associated with sickness. I've noticed that in myself. Like when I step into a new version of myself, a lot of times that comes with some kind of disease. Maybe it's just like flushing away the old. I'm not sure, but slowing down and tuning back in and just being kind to your body in the form of fueling it with nutritious foods and honoring things that you crave. Like, okay, if you are craving something quote unquote unhealthy, maybe go chug some water first and see what you feel, but then go and eat that thing. And I used to have this toxic mentality of like, I've got to eat the whole box of whatever because this is the last time I'm ever eating this and I'm not going to do it again. No. Allow yourself to have the unhealthy thing when you want it and release that toxic mentality, because then when you eat all of it, that's what's really harming you, because you have this mentality of all or nothing, right? So just breathing into your body and breathing into those signals that it's sending you, and just being kind to your body through the form of eating nutritious foods, moving it, resting, all the beautiful things you can do for your body. Now, I feel like I've had a lot of lessons when it comes to relationships. And this is one I felt even before I moved to Arizona, but has definitely been affirmed here. But that is like your romantic relationships truly are just like the cherry on top of your own alignment. Like you have to be okay within yourself first before you try to find whatever it is you're searching for in an external relationship. And I definitely felt that before I even met Steven. And I think that's what attracted Steven into my life, is that I truly got to a space where I was like happy where I was at and really just having fun in my life. And then I met him and I was not expecting to. And that's a whole nother story. But when it comes to relationships, I truly think they are mirrors. They are mirrors to either things that we are doing too that we are unconscious of, or things that we're not setting boundaries for. Again, Suzanne Frenzen explained this so beautifully in last week's episode. But when we're triggered by people in our lives, especially our relationships, whether it's close relationships or work relationships or even strangers, it's always a beautiful opportunity and gift to go within and see how that behavior is either showing up in your life elsewhere or boundaries that you need to set up. I think this really just changes your whole perspective on how you see relationships in your life and how you see negative things that come up. Every time like someone annoys me or something that aggravates me comes up, I just always use that as opportunity to be like, okay, do I do this to other people? Like, do I waste other people's time? Do I talk about myself too much to other people? That may be the case from time to time. It's just always healthy to like bring some awareness, and do not beat yourself up about it. Just bring some awareness to the topic and see if it's something that you can just have a broader perspective on. Just have a broader perspective on your relationships and on those triggers that come up. Now, I love this next lesson, and that is that abundance comes in so many forms. way beyond just the normal way of thinking of abundance in the terms of money and finances. But abundance comes in the form of the relationships around us. Like, along with the relationships, and my last point, I have recently noticed I have attracted so many beautifully deep relationships, especially in these last few months. I have met people that I just like connected with just in these last few months that I felt like I've known them forever. Like, we have such a beautiful, deep connection so fast. And that keeps happening with people. Like, I keep attracting people like that into my life, and I find that so interesting. And that's a form of abundance to me, along with, monetary abundance. And also, your health is probably the most important abundance we will ever have. And nothing makes you realize that until you are sick. Until you are sick, you're like, man, I've been taking my health for granted, and we all do it. But truly, our health and our well-being is the ultimate abundance. Along with nature, I'm always reminded when I go out into nature or even just look at a tree, its own abundance and how it is so abundant in leaves or flowers or whatever it is producing. And it just doesn't worry about what the other trees or flowers are doing. It just does what it's here to do. And it's true to its purpose and its own alignment. And it is so abundant. So I think those are good places to focus if you are really struggling with the most common term of abundance, which is monetary abundance. If you're struggling in that area, and I'm not an expert in this, but this has been in my own experience, when I focus on the other areas that are abundant in my life, I see so much abundance in that category, and the finances start to grow when I focus on the other areas in my life that are so abundant, like my relationships and my health and other things that are going well. It's that energy of gratitude and appreciation. It truly is the highest vibration you can attain. My next point is really interesting, and I want to keep this as a part of our life, no matter where we are. And that is that diversity is so beautiful and such a beautiful gift. As you guys know, I grew up in the Midwest in a small town, and there was not a lot of diversity there in terms of people. And then when I moved here to Phoenix, Arizona, obviously the culture here is very different and much more diverse. And at first it was a little bit of a culture shock. Like, it was just beyond what I was used to. And I'm so grateful for that opportunity because it just expands you so much. You see how so many different people live their lives and all the different experiences that people experience in their life, dependent upon, what kind of identity they have been born with. And I just really feel like diversity is such a beautiful expander, and I'm looking forward to continuing to have that in our life, no matter where we end up, no matter where we settle, or if we ever settle. Especially for Arlo, I want him to have a lot of diversity in his experiences growing up. Along with the kind of themes of the desert, this is one of my major lessons. I've kind of already hit on this, but to really hit it home, that is to let go of things that do not serve you. So whether that's a limiting belief or a fear or even just a thought pattern or behavior, letting go of things that do not serve you. Doing this has led me on the path that I am now. I have started things and I have stopped things. And I have really tuned into my internal guidance to know when it's time to let something go. And that has served me so much. So just continue practicing that and being aware when it's time to let go of something, let go of it and breathe and know that it was here for a season and it was beautiful. And now it's time for the next thing. Every time you let go of something, you are making space for more beauty and alignment and magic to unfold. This next one is one of my mantras every single morning that I write down, and that is that everything is found within us. Every single emotion or vibration or feeling that we want to feel is sourced from within ourselves. And the paradox is, the 3D way of thinking is that we have to find something external to make us feel happy, fulfilled, aligned, present, connected, loved, safe. when really we can feel all of those feelings within ourselves. It's a matter of just connecting back in with ourselves, and we can find that source of love, safety, connection, abundance, love, all the things within ourselves first. You just have to tap into that energy. We are just vibration. We are just energetic beings, not just. That makes it sound limiting. We are vibrational, energetic beings, and we are truly limitless, and we have everything we need within us. Now, these last two are probably the most important and are major themes throughout every single alignment adventure episode. And that is that living in alignment and being present as much as I can are my ultimate goals in life. Those are the things that bring me true joy. And those are my North Stars, being present and living in alignment. And I know that when I come back to those things, everything seems to just make more sense and fall back into place. I can easily get caught up in the physical 3D world of the externals, of the limited way of thinking. We all can. It's just the way things are set up. It's old stuff that has been set up, and we just fall into that trap, and that's okay. I'm compassionate with myself when I forget these things. But then I can always come back and remember, come back to my breath, and remember that living in alignment and being present are the reasons that I am here. I am here to embody those things, to teach those things, to live those things. And those are my truths. So if you're ever feeling stuck or lost or unsure, just come back to your alignment list. Episode 1, come back to your breath, come back to the present moment, and see what unfolds from there. And also just don't take life so seriously. We can get so caught up in what seem like huge problems when they're really minute problems. We always say this, back to that episode with Steven. Our only problem is that we have no problems. And I don't mean to diminish any struggles that you're going with. That's not the purpose of what I'm trying to say here, but just don't take life so seriously. We can get really hung up on the small, minute things that seem like big things, but then the scheme of life and the scheme of your soul and your alignment, just have fun with it. Have fun with life, prioritize fun, and don't take things too seriously. Now, last but not least, this is where I want to end it, and this is a guiding principle of my life, and that is that we create our own reality. We create our own reality. I created my own reality when I decided to move from my small town in central Illinois to Phoenix, Arizona, and I continue to create my reality as I grow and expand and come back to my truth. And every single one of you are creating your reality by what you consume and choose to believe and the habits that you have. You hold so much power. Don't give your power away to externals. You have so much power, and you truly are the driver of your ship. So you create your own reality. I'm going to end it there. I hit that one home every single episode, I feel like. So go back to ones and listen to them if you need to. But I hope you've enjoyed these lessons that I've learned in the past 6 years. And again, I think these are things we all know on a deep level. We just forget. But my time here in Arizona have really helped me remember these key principles. I'm not perfect at practicing them every single day. I'm not perfect at embodying them every single day. But I do know in my soul that these are my truths, and that I can always come back to them if I need to. I can always come back to this episode and listen to it, just like you can always come back and listen to it. I'm so grateful for my time here in Arizona, and I know this is just the beginning of a new chapter, and there's still so much growth and lessons to be learned, and that I can have fun along the way and enjoy myself along the way and not get caught up in the little things. So I hope this episode is inspiration to you. Again, if you're curious how I ended up in Arizona and why we're leaving, go check out that YouTube video. I will link it in the show notes, and it's just kind of fun story time to join me, and kind of gives you the behind the scenes of my life a little bit. But please share this episode with anyone that you think needs to hear this message. You can just copy the link and send it directly to them in a text, or you can screenshot this episode and share your takeaways with me over on Instagram. You can tag me at Lindsay with an A, M Tanner. That's also where I'm going to be sharing all of the updates as they start to unfold in these next few months. Also, I meant to say this at the beginning of the episode, but I'm probably going to be taking a few weeks off from the podcast just because I really need to prioritize packing and some other things that we're wrapping up as we finish up here in Arizona. It's a nudge I've been getting for a while, and I'm going to honor that nudge, just like I talked about in this episode, just to take a little break as we head into this next adventure, because I'm going to have so many exciting things to share with you on the podcast, on YouTube, on Instagram. So if you want to continue along this journey with me, I am so grateful to have you. And of course, I'm sending you all so much love, all of the high vibes, and I will see you in the next episode of Alignment Adventures.